Hey, I'm Sven Masterson, one of the mentors and co-founders in Mentoring Men community. And in this video, I want to talk to you about mistakes, specifically mistakes that we make as young, immature, and insecure men. Now, I'm telling you these things from personal experience of both making those mistakes in my earlier years and also talking to hundreds of men about their relationships, about their marriages, about what has worked, what has not worked, and helping a whopping amount of those people turn their failing relationships around into flourishing, deeply connected, passionate, and intimate relationships. And so these mistakes are patterns that I've seen through my own life and through these men. And in this video today, I want to talk to you about a specific mistake, and it is the mistake of seeing the opposite of your partner, the oppositeness, I should say, of your partner as her being adversarial. I did this in spades. In fact, I've been in a relationship for about 31 years with the same woman, my wife Zelda. You can see some of our videos on my channel, the Sven Masterson channel. And in my relationship with Zelda, for about 20 of those 30 years, I misunderstood her oppositeness. I made this mistake. And I made this mistake with sometimes minor consequences, but oftentimes pretty devastating consequences to our connection, our closeness, and really our trajectory as a couple. You see, what I didn't understand was that Zelda had a different perspective than me, and she would try to convey that perspective, and in the lens of seeing my own perspective, being up in my head a lot as a man, and just hearing the differentness of her perspective, I took it as critique. I took it as her being adversarial. I took it as her being against me. Now, if you're watching this video and you're a man in a relationship, you probably can identify with just how frustrating it is to feel like a woman is not on your team. In fact, what men really want, among a lot of things, is they want a woman to both appreciate and respect them, but also to feel like she's in your corner. You want to feel like that when you're out kind of slaying it in the world, that you've got a kind of a home base, a person who is with you, who's united with you, and who's supporting you in that. Now, I have that today, but I had to cultivate that. And one of the problems with this mistake was I had this kind of erroneous notion that I was entitled to that simply because we both said I do at the altar. But I had to actually come to a place where I could appreciate her perspective, and to learn to appreciate her perspective as a woman, I had to learn to appreciate women in general. Now, it's not that I didn't appreciate women, I just did not understand them. So I didn't understand that the way women are is different than the way men are. And so I kept trying to look at my wife Zelda through a lens, a masculine lens of here's what it looks like would make sense to me. And she would just see the world entirely differently. And oftentimes the tone with which she expressed it, which was an emotionally charged, sometimes a lot of emotional range, and it felt like critique. Now, what I didn't know then and I know now is when we feel critiqued, we're actually feeling our own inner critique. We think other people are critiquing us, but what we don't realize is those lenses that we wear, that we look through life, we see everything through those lenses, including the words and actions and intentions of other people. And so a lot of times when she was expressing herself, now, I'm not saying she was never critiquing, by the way, but the critique really is only, is like 90% how we perceive what other people are saying. And if we're insecure, if we're people with a high amount of internal critique, a high amount of internal judgment, we tend to see everything that comes our way through that lens. And I was an insecure man. I was a person with a high degree of inner critique. I actually loathed myself for much of my life. I didn't like me. And so I just kind of subconsciously assumed that other people didn't either. And that showed up in interpreting people's differentness or their oppositeness of me as being hostility and them being adversarial. And I deeply resented this in marriage, almost to the point where I was ready to call it quits. You know, and with 6 children, a big homestead, and a lot of investment into my life, my marriage, our relationship, our family, that looked like it was going to be devastating. I really didn't think I had another choice because I felt like And really all the signs pointed to that I married the wrong woman. Even different people in my life seem to confirm this by affirming my frustration. And I believed all of it, unfortunately, and it almost cost me everything I have and hold dear, because I was wrong. I was seeing the world through a lens that was in me, and it was the lens of insecurity, the lens of shame, the lens of anxiety and fear. And it was also just the fact that my lens was male. I did not know how to appreciate just the complete otherness of a partner in a relationship. And eventually I learned to see that, you know what? Zelda's perspective is her perspective, and I have mine, and we can both have our perspectives. I don't have to choose one. You see, I had all this resentment in life because I kept feeling like I had to agree with her perspective in order to not upset the apple cart, in order to go along to get along, right? This is how nice guys are made. Nice guys become nice. They basically edit their authentic truth because they feel like they have to in order to hang on to a relationship. And in our kind of turmoil and a really long period, a protracted period of relationship suffering and nastiness, I figured a lot of stuff out. And one of those things I figured out was that I have to be me at all cost, including making her mad. I had believed the BS narrative that happy wife makes a happy life, which is complete horse crap, right? A happy wife does not make a happy life. A happy life creates a happy wife. And so when I started to switch my perspective and say, you know what? I can have my perspective. Zelda can have hers. And we don't have to pick a winner. In fact, we can combine them. And when we combine them, a partner's oppositeness, their other perspective, is a force multiplier. And so today I'm very grateful for this. In fact, the reason I'm making this video is because of just sitting here today with some gratitude about how nice it is to have a partner where we're on the same team, we're moving in the same direction, we're united in purpose, right? Where we each have our own role to play, but we support each other. We're heading the same direction, and it feels really good to know that I have somebody on my team and for her to know that I'm on hers. But we didn't get that overnight. It took us a long time to build that, and we needed a lot of personal transformation that I can unapologetically say had to start with my heart as a man, because it's the nature of the masculine to go first. Now that's going to piss a lot of people off because it's not politically correct to say, and I don't care because it's true. And in a relationship, if there is a masculine and a feminine, the masculine must lead. It must go first if you want it to flourish. That's exactly what happened. I was able to change my own heart first, which created an environment where my wife could have kind of a safe place to experience her own kind of, upheaval and sorting out things within her. And it led to where we are today. And all of that included this change of perspective about perspective. Now, I talk to hundreds of men a year about their relationships, usually failing relationships, and help a lot of these men turn that around. And you know what the first thing is that men kind of latch onto after the relationships are repaired? It's the thing that's the most important in their life. It's mission and purpose. Men are really about mission and purpose, and the relationship stuff, I would say to a point, it's a little bit of like a distraction, or you might even say preparation, really, for the mission and purpose stuff that they want to get to. That's the thing that it seems like is the most important to men. Now, they want to feel connection and be in a relationship along the way, don't get me wrong, but mission and purpose dings a lot of bells inside of a man's heart. Now, let me ask you something. Suppose you were preparing for a very, very important mission. And in that mission, you needed intelligence. You needed reconnaissance, right? Maybe you're going into a foreign land where there's an adversary and you're trying to rescue maybe something or someone very important to you. You want to have reconnaissance. You want to have intelligence about what that environment is going to be like. Now, in that environment, would you want one perspective, just yours? Or would you appreciate the perspective of multiples? Would you appreciate even two? You see, another perspective is what? It's like a 200% increase, right? You get a whole other perspective. Now, I'm not a math guy, so if I got that wrong, you can just, tell me in the comments. I don't care. But listen, perspectives are a blessing, because when you're in the mode of needing reconnaissance for your mission, when you're in the mode of needing intelligence, the more perspectives you can have, the more you can make wise decisions. One of my favorite proverbs, in fact, is, in the multitude of counselors there is wisdom. And when I combined kind of these concepts in my own life and started to see, you know what, Zelda's oppositeness is a force multiplier for me. It's actually a good thing, and I should stop kicking against it. I should stop resisting her oppositeness. I should stop labeling it as being adversarial and just see it as oppositeness. Just see it as different. And in doing so, ask myself, is there anything to learn here? Is there any help I could have from receiving this oppositeness? And when I took that posture about it, my life started to change, my marriage started to change, and I started to be able to be much more equipped with the directions I wanted to go as a man in life, because now I have more intel, more recon, because I get a whole other perspective of life that I can't see through my male lens, that she sees through her female lens. And it's really great. And you know what? I offer the same to her. And so now we're going through life, we're moving in the same direction, at least as a couple, and individually we can give each other these gifts of our perspective. But we had to do a lot of growth in that process, and that growth was painful. It took eating a lot of humble pie, for me some very big pieces of it, and the net result has been living the life that I want to live. I'm very, very privileged and grateful for living how I've wanted to live my whole life. And I would credit largely the difficulty in my marriage and the healing process I went through as being what has made that happen. Now, I've talked about a lot of things. I haven't talked about them as deeply as I like to when I talk to a man face to face or one-on-one. And so I want to invite you, if you're curious about the things I'm talking about and kind of how some of that goes, as far as like what's the process and how to go through it, I would love to chat with you. I'm so serious about that. There's a link below in my video description where you can connect with me for a one-on-one session. It's complimentary. There's no BS, no sales pitch, no sales funnel. You're just going to be asked a series of questions. It's going to take about 7 or 8 minutes for me, for this like tech I have to figure out kind of where you're at, what's going on, and then you're going to be followed up with by a real human, most likely myself, maybe an apprentice or another mentor in my community, and they're going to have a real conversation with you about your relationship to yourself, to your partner if you're in a relationship of a romantic variety, and really anything else you want to talk about your experience as a man. That's 100% free, complimentary thing that we love to do, and we're eager to do it with you. You can find that link below. If you want to just skip some of that and jump right into some really deep conversations among men on a journey to be their best, I also invite you to scroll down in the same description and you'll see a link where you can join the Mentoring Men community. Now, this is a men's only private community where we talk pretty deeply about the subjects that relate to us as men. Things like family, finances, relationships, career, mission, purpose, or conflict, really anything that hits a man's heart in a certain way that doesn't feel like he has support, we talk about it. And you can find that link below as well. Now with that, I've got to wish you goodbye. I'm headed to the airport actually to go meet with about a dozen guys in our community for a weekend where we're going to sit around and be deep and real and authentic with each other, support each other, love each other a little bit. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm going to go and get myself to the airport now. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.